Sometimes in life we just suffer. Sometimes it's from being totally withdrawn, or so much stress that we are totally anxious, or so tired that we are totally burnt out. But our current position is not our final destination. No, indeed. There's hope. So whether it's your personal life, your career, your relationship, your business, or your job, we say there's reason to believe again. And we present from Andy's personal development, the breakout room. It's the place for health, happiness, and prosperity. Stay tuned for more.
Hi, and welcome to the Breakout Room. This is Andy, your host, and we are currently live with a special guest that's going to speak about precision medicine and DNA. That's right, you heard me right. His name is Len May. And just to tell you a little bit about Len May, he is the CEO at EndoDNA. Precision medicine starts with DNA. He's also a podcast host. Everything is personal. He's an author, a global public speaker, featured in Entrepreneur, Bloomberg, Rolling Stone, Forbes, and PubMed. So there is so much more to this individual, but we're going to invite him so that he can tell us so much more about himself and bring the value we expect he's going to do to the breakout room. Let's welcome our guest, Len May. Hi.
Thank you for having me.
Welcome,
Appreciate
Len.
it.
Thank you for being here. We appreciate it, and we appreciate you as well. So, Len, I know that you are beginning to delve into so many different areas with regards to the study of precision medicine and DNA. And for some people, that may be jargon. But we'll try to simplify it as much as we possibly can so that they can get the value of the content. But if you had to describe what you have done in terms of the research and the discoveries in about a minute or two, tell us how would you describe it so that the world understands what you have discovered and what you are essentially trying to accomplish.
Well, we started the company based on a factor of the endocannabinoid system. And the reason why is because at the time that I was had this idea, I was an owner and operator of cannabis dispensaries in Southern California. And one of the things I started seeing was two people would consume the same varietal of cannabis and have a completely different experience. So from there, I started looking at plant genetics. So the understanding of, we call these plants different names. So what does it really mean? So I got really into plant genetics and started looking at these names are really meaningless. It's about the genetics and the components of the plant that produce an effect. The other part of that was human genetics. So getting into what's called pharmacogenomics. And this is a study of how different drugs affect different people and the contraindications between the different drugs. And something called pharmacokinetics, which is dosing based on how we metabolize. You know, doctors always tell you, take 2 of these and call me in the morning. Well, why am I taking 2? Why isn't Andy taking 4? Or why isn't Len taking 1? Because we metabolize different. And that's sort of how we started our, the mission of our company initially is precision wellness. So looking at the endocannabinoid system, looking at possible adverse effects based on your genetics and seeing how individuals may be affected by different types of cannabinoids and terpenes. Also looking at that drug-to-drug interaction for contraindications, as well as metabolic function for more precise dosing. So truly a personalized experience.
Yeah, wonderful. Thank you for sharing. So, in terms of the discovery that you guys have made with regards to the research and so on, have you found any other similar research being done out there that would kind of align with what you guys are doing? Or are you finding yourself in a singular part with regards to what you have discovered?
Yeah, well, there is a lot of research on genetics and how they affect different conditions and different diseases. Genetics have been
Hmm.
used for last 60 years, looking at
Yeah.
cancer marker predispositions, etc. We were the first company that patented a test on the endocannabinoid system, which is our
Okay.
primary modulating system that is responsible for maintaining what's called homeostasis or balance. But from there, we looked at how do we personalize wellness and medicine for individuals outside of the endocannabinoid system, and we
Hmm.
developed technology that actually allows us to look at your whole genome and provide other tests to healthcare professionals, something like female hormone health with menopause biotype, male hormone health, even personalized nutrient supplements based on your genetic predispositions. As far as research goes, not only are we published in PubMed, as you mentioned in the intro, but we're also in the middle of 10 clinical trials. One of them is a phase 2 clinical trial with Harvard University for anxiety. So we're looking at genetic predispositions and sort of looking at patterns, and the main thing about genetic predispositions is that we're born with certain genotypes, and our lifestyle can control the on and off switches of that, which is the epigenetic response. So being able to measure how well a certain protocol works for people, then going back in the cloud and using artificial intelligence, machine learning, AI, to be able to start creating patterns based on that behavior really leads to a more personalized experience when health and wellness is concerned for individuals.
Yeah, great. Thank you for sharing, Len. You use the term unveiling the power of you. What is the specific idea that you want people to get from that term, and how can you help them to unveil the power?
It's such a great and powerful question. I appreciate you asking that because, think about it. We're all individuals, but we've been treated as, a group of humans
Mm,
going through treatment that is sort of this conveyor belt of medicine instead of
yeah,
a really personalized experience. And look, I looked at, Eastern medicine, traditional Chinese medicine, looked at other plant medicine in the Amazon in Brazil, and there's all kinds of different ways that people are treating with different substances for thousands and thousands of years. And the way that they look at treatment is the root cause of what is causing the symptomatic condition that we are feeling. Okay, well, in Western medicine, I have a pain in my elbow. What
mm,
do? You take a pain reliever, something that is going to stop the
hmm,
pain, which is an analgesic, or you may get a
yeah,
shot in your elbow that's going to help me stop feeling the pain. Well, the pain is a signal. It means that something else is going on. So, what I need to do is find the root cause, address
right,
the inflammation, which can be an overactive immune response, which then in turn will alleviate the pain. But if I'm just numbing the pain, which is what Western society likes to do, then I'm not really digging into the root cause. So when I talk about individualized and a personalized approach to health and wellness, it's going back to your genetics. And maybe I can take maybe 30 seconds just to explain to
hmm,
somebody.
yeah, yeah,
We're born with DNA that we received from our parents, 50% from our father, 50% from our mother. Now, some of those genetics are sort of locked in. So if you think of them as a bunch of on-off switches, some of them are turned on at birth. So like things like our skin color, our eye color, our hair color, things of that nature are in the on position. Now, the other genes that you have, the predispositions can be turned on based on lifestyle. And what I mean by lifestyle, it can be the food that we consume, the amount of stress that that is presented to us, the exposure to heavy metals, other things that are going on in our lives. They can actually act as triggers to be able to turn those things on. So we are empowered with information that has a collaborative experience with our healthcare professional because we know these things about ourselves. We can make life choices that may turn the switches off that we want to turn off or may turn other switches on. So an example would be if I have a predisposition to low iron levels and I make a decision without knowing this that I'm going to be a vegan. Well,
Mm.
how am I going to subsidize the iron levels that are already low genetically in because I'm not consuming meat? Well, maybe I
Right.
can eat more spinach or things of
Hmm.
that nature that'll create more iron level. So having that information is truly an empowering way to be able to treat your health and wellness in a more personalized manner.
Yeah, that is so profound and definitely foundational. I love the way in which you describe it. Thank you for doing so, Len. How important, therefore, is the process of the AI technology that we have now so that we can get this message collectively into people's space so that they see a difference and can compare with the reference you made with regards to the Eastern way of diagnose and treating as opposed to the Western way. And you did make you sort of outline a picture of a Ferris wheel where everybody is put on the wheel, and when the pain comes, if everybody is feeling the same pain and everybody is given the same treatment without looking at the root cause and surveying the difference between our DNA. And that's critical. I understand that. But how can we use the power of the AI technology so that the platform that we are using gets the information to the people in that manner, as you described, so that they would understand how important it is to gravitate to that higher level where the treatment is going to deal with the root cause and not just the symptom.
Yeah, AI allows us to scale rapidly. It
Right.
allows us to do two things. Number one, the feedback loop that comes back from, Andy went to his doctor,
Uh-huh.
got his protocol, it worked. Now maybe there's 1,000 people with Andy's genetic predisposition that actually took
Mm.
the same protocol. So the AI learns from that. And next
Yeah.
time you go to a doctor, they can pull that up and say, this is the protocol that showed the most efficacy for Andy, for a person that's similar to your genetics, age group, all these different things. So it allows us to scale and get information much more rapidly, allows us to scale the research part of it as well. But the
Hmm.
other thing that's truly important is an experience we just recently had. So we have this report that we developed with Dr. Jennifer Berman, who's one of the top female sexual health doctors in the country in the US.
Right.
And it's called menopause biotype. So it looks for predispositions to, early onset menopause, perimenopause, menopause, and postmenopause, and the side effects from menopause for individual women. Now, there was a woman who had on her report, it showed that she was a really good candidate for hormone replacement therapy and really personalized supplements as well, due to the amount of um, weight gain. There was
Hmm.
also hot flashes, severity of hot flashes, other uncomfortable side effects. So
Okay.
the platform would normally suggest a hormone replacement therapy with estrogen. Now, because of AI and the way we build a platform, the other thing it did is cross-reference. Are there other genetics that may be associated as a possible adverse effect for this individual? And it brought up a BRCA1 mutation gene. A BRCA1 mutation is a predisposition for breast cancer. Well, all the
Right.
research says that a person that consumes estrogen may actually be influencing the expression of BRCA1, which is breast cancer. So, with
Hmm.
a healthcare professional, without them knowing this, may have followed a protocol to recommend a hormone replacement therapy with estrogen. But because the AI flagged that, the doctor went back and made a recommendation for an estrogen blocker and a testosterone therapy, which they're going to monitor the efficacy of. So AI not only gives you a ability to scale, but also is able to look at a lot more features and a lot more interactions that a human may not be able to see on the fly like that.
Yeah, very, very, very absolutely important and critical to right diagnostics and right treatment. Thank you for clearing that up, Len. I just want to share a video and you can comment on it. I call it STEM and you'll see
It's
why. So
so
let's
important,
have a
especially
look.
when we know he's got mold. We're trying to get toxins, and God knows what kind of. He was in the Navy 30 years. He did 1,200 traps on an aircraft carrier. Navy captain, carrier airwing commander, really successful, beloved from his Navy teams. So it was. Here we were, and then the second week we went from 15 minutes to an hour and 25 minutes of deep sleep. I was so happy, and over time he regained the ability to whistle. He regained the ability to drum. He regained his sense of smell, Len. That had been gone 15 years. So, amazing. His hair, he had a bald spot that was, since the day I met him, it started closing up and his gray hair turned brown again. Brown. I'm like, when did you ever have brown hair? He said, when I was a kid. I was like, wow. But what was also cool was while I'm watching him get all of these benefits, I had not the same, different, right? I mean, what's cool about activating your stem cells is they're going in and helping you at the root cause of whatever you need. And what I needed was an autoimmune fix. So all of a sudden, and pain relief. And we do have a product that is just, I can't even begin to describe to you how amazing it is for pain relief. As somebody who has always had challenges. I think it's probably part of the fibromyalgia, or maybe, I don't even know if people really understand what fibromyalgia or chronic fatigue. I don't even know if those are real things, quite honestly. I think that they could be just a bucket of symptoms and they put a label on it and no one really understands the root cause. I don't really care. I don't allow that title to own me, and I don't allow it. I just think you haven't figured out what to do about this, but I'm going to figure this out, and my stem cells are going to figure this out.
Yeah, what's important about that, Len, is the perspective and the clear understanding of, I like the term she used, a bucket of symptoms that a label was put on. But I want you to do a deep dive into that important aspect of that STEM technology and how critical it can be for the changes that she saw and for her own improvement and her health as well.
Yeah, I mean, this may be a little controversial, but
Mm-hmm.
stem cells are not legal, especially embryonic stem cells, to be able to implement in the United States.
Right.
Many different reasons why. Some of them have to do with religion, beliefs, and political, but they're extremely efficacious. And
Mm-hmm.
what they are is they create a scaffolding for new cell growth to be created. Uh, we work with clinics that actually do a lot of stem cell treatments that are personalized stem cell treatments. So one of the things they do, they have patented technology, is they extract plasma and blood, spin it through a centrifuge, clean that out, and present you with something like a natural killer cells that can go and attack, a cancer cell.
Mm.
Also, if you have some damage so I tore my meniscus in my knee, and one of the things that we can do. So how do you fix that? The only way to fix that is surgery. However, you can regrow tissue, and you can
Mm.
do that if through stem cells. You can inject stem cells, have them take and regrow new tissue. Now, there are other ways to create stem cells, not just embryonic. There are companies that are creating stem cells from vegetable scaffolding. So they'll remove all the materials from a vegetable, a leaf, and then start growing stem cells on top of that. There's also exosomes, which are precursors to stem cells, which are legal, that you can inject and stimulate cell growth. But it's an amazing technology, and people have to go outside the country. Like I personally know, people that suffer from multiple sclerosis that for
Mm-hmm.
10 years are symptom free because they received stem cell therapy. And the stem cell therapy that has shown promise lately comes from placenta. So think about
Right.
it this way, women give birth and placenta was basically thrown out. I mean, we did
Hmm.
the cord banking for our kids that just in case they need that. But
Yeah.
now you can take that placenta, extract the actual stem cells for that, and re-inject them in the individuals as blank canvassing and be able to stimulate cell growth. So this is technology that is available. Like, as you just showed in the clip, we tend to label symptoms.
Mm,
And we talked
yeah.
about this earlier.
Hmm.
There's a lot of, and if you look to see what symptoms are, some of those symptoms are associated with stress. And if you think about it, some people are more prone to anxiety when they're stressed. And if
Yeah.
that's the case, they excrete more cortisol into the bloodstream. Well, what happens? Well, things can happen this way. If you have more cortisol in your bloodstream, your immune system can over respond to that. So you have an overactive immune response. It can lower your
Yeah.
pH level, make you
Yeah.
more acidic. Now, if you have predisposition to gut health issues like IBD, irritable bowel syndrome, etc., now it can trigger the expression of those gut health issues. And what are they treating? The gut health issues. Hey, you're having IBD. Well, the IBD is a byproduct of the actual overactive immune response that is being caused. Now, the stem cell therapy can address the autoimmune response that you're having, but it can also address the gut health issues. But if you're only treating the symptom, not the result of what the root cause of that is, now that's when we get on this, as you said, this Ferris wheel. We get on
Hmm.
this wheel of the model that the pharmaceutical industry has designed for us.
Mm,
Is we're going
yeah.
to get on this model of take this pill. By the way, you have side effects. Don't worry about it. We have a pill for the side effects as well.
Yeah. 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 Wow. Never ending cycle. Ah, Len, we're going to switch gears a little bit and I want to present an image for you that I know you are very familiar with. And it's one of the things that a lot of people need clarification on. And we have so many aspects of it that people look at. As you would have mentioned before, there's culture, there's laws, there's religious. Anyways, so let me just share this with you. Making cannabis personal. Take the guesswork out of your cannabis and CBD experience. What is the main focus of this particular publication, Len? And what do you expect people to get holistically out of it?
Well, thank you for sharing my book. I appreciate that, which is available on Amazon or anywhere else you get books. Uh, the idea of this book came from during COVID,
Yeah.
basically. And so the half of this book, the beginning, it talks about my life story, which
Hmm.
I can talk about if time permits. And the second half of the book talks about experiences with people that have actually, maybe had an adverse experience with cannabis, and then we're able to find the right ratio for them based on their genetic predisposition or taking the EndoDNA test. So stories like, I talk about one like Grandma Mary, who 50, 60 years ago consumed cannabis at a party and had a really bad experience and said, never again. And then
Hmm.
she was unfortunately diagnosed with cancer, was going through treatment, and
Hmm.
was experiencing a lot of adverse effects. In that, she went to a dispensary and she talked to a bud tender work there, and they gave her edibles. So she
Yeah.
went back to her assisted living facility where she was living, took one, maybe one and a half, and began to have an extremely intense experience, which she says lasted for 2 days.
Wow.
And she swore off cannabis, told everybody around her, stay away from the devil's lettuce, until she did the DNA test. It came back that she had predispositions to stress reactivity, PTSD, and also she was a poor metabolizer. So eating, going through your first pass liver conversion was probably a bad idea for her. And the amount of THC and the terpene profiles that she took, which are the essential oils of the plant, were the wrong ratio for her. So when she found the right ratio for her, she not only was feeling better, alleviating the side effects of the therapy that she was getting for a cancer treatment, which was nausea, some aches and pains,
Mhm.
weren't
Yeah.
able to eat. So it helped with all those things. So she would go around. It was a group like chemo therapy. She would go around, give our business cards to people saying, you got to take this test to find out what works best for you. So the book is, like I said, it's my experience with plant medicine, with my life, and how my parents, were discovering that I was consuming cannabis as my medicine for my ADD, ended up kicking me out of the house, calling
Hmm.
the police on me. But the irony of this whole thing is that my parents both consume formulations that my company has, had patents on and produced. So it sort of came full circle. But that's really what the book is about. It's part of it is my journey, and part of it is other people's journeys. And the hope is that people can actually read the book and understand that they're not alone. There's other people like them. And it's with everything. Everything that we do has a positive and negative effect. So I'll give you one more example.
Sure.
I'm really focusing on my health and wellness, biohacking. So one of the things that my company is going to be implementing is also biological age. So I am chronologically 52. My
Mhm.
biological age is 47. My
Yeah.
goal is to reduce that to 40, and we'll
All
start
right.
from there. So
All
I
right.
do all these different tests. So I looked at my gut microbiome, and I did my gut microbiome test. And one of the things I learned is that bell peppers are an inflammatory food for me. Now think about it. Bell
Ah,
peppers are healthy, full
wow.
of vitamin C,
Yeah.
etc.
Yeah. Yeah.
Recommended in many people's quote unquote diets, what they eat. But for me, it's an inflammatory food. And if I didn't take this test, I would know that. So I would have, gut health issues. So the idea is that you look at everything, starting with your endocannabinoid system. And I go really in depth to explain what that is, but also other systems and other things that you would do to really make people understand that not only is making cannabis personal, but making everything personal that we put in our bodies, because that's really important.
Wow. Wonderful. Really appreciate what you shared there and the story with this lady as well. Thank you so much. So, you have been hearing a man who has that very early experience in his life with cannabis and his parents, but he has come a long way and has made tremendous discoveries with regards to health. Precision medicine and DNA with Len May is the name of the episode. We're gonna go for a quick commercial break right now, but we'll be back with Len May live in the breakout room. Don't go anywhere, folks. FindRadioGuest.com, the place to click to find guests to interview for free. And if you're a radio show booker, podcaster, talk show host, or television producer, then this is the place to get podcasts and radio interviews or promote your books and products as a guest expert sponsor. FindRadioGuest.com. Check it out. Yeah, so we are back live in the breakout room with Len May. And as we continue this discussion, I'm looking at the aspect of you speaking before a live audience and telling them about your discoveries and the importance of understanding the work that it can do and the precision of diagnosis with regards to treating that specific root cause of whatever medical problem or challenge they may have. Uh, when you do these talks, Len, what kind of response do you get from the audience in particular? And what is the greatest level of concern that people express to you as a result?
I mean, my feedback's been tremendous.
Uh huh.
It's sort of, growing up as a kid, I wanted to be a rock star. So
Uh
I would say this is my rock star moment. It's coming on stage and
huh.
sharing that energy with the audience. I don't get the same response as a rock star because you're giving and you're receiving. So I only
Right.
receive after I'm completed my talk. But uh, you know, it depends on the audience. So
Okay.
sometimes it's a TED style talk, which is a 15-minute talk, and I have to
Hmm.
cram a lot of information. So I have to
Yeah.
pick what's the easiest thing to convey. And sometimes it's just educating people that we have this system called the endocannabinoid system. It's only been discovered in 1992, so a lot of people don't even understand what it is, and they've always, thought about, cannabis as this drug, and it has a lot of negative connotations to it, but they never understood that we actually have endogenous endocannabinoids that we produce ourselves. So that's a major thing that discovery. Now, if I'm speaking to an audience that is well versed in the endocannabinoid system, then the thing that I think is really interesting in them is, well, wait a second, I can make a personalized process on finding out what works for me just by looking to avoid what things may cause or produce an adverse event. So that's another topic of conversation. And the next part of it is when I talk to healthcare professionals, one
Hmm.
of the main concerns that they have is safety. So yes,
Ah,
we talk about
yeah.
things that are efficacious. Yes, do they work? Yes, but working is secondary. They're
Yeah.
concerned about cause no harm. So by us, like when we met with the FDA, they asked us, what is the purpose of your test? And we said to help people either avoid or mitigate a possible adverse event. And that's by approaching healthcare professionals and explaining to them that the goal is to help people prevent or mitigate a possible adverse event. Now, from there, we can start building on what's working as long as we know where the potholes are in the road. So I like to talk about sort of your personal GPS unit. I live in Los Angeles. I used to live in Philadelphia. So I can get in my car and I can drive in the US from Los Angeles to Philadelphia without a GPS. Will I get there? Yes, eventually. But I'm going to hit traffic jam. I'm going to make wrong turns.
Yeah.
I'm going to
Yeah.
get into
Yeah.
potholes. With my own personal GPS, I know exactly where to go. I know where the police are on the road. I know where the potholes are. I know where the traffic jam is. So why should I do this for my own life? Why should I have a GPS for my health and wellness? And that's a topic of conversation that really goes over well with an audience.
Yeah. Great. Wonderful. So I'm looking at one of your publications, ADD, attention deficit disorder, is a superpower. I really want people to get that, Len. Share your thoughts on that with us, please.
It's a this is my life thesis, because the reason why I do what I do is because of attention deficit disorder.
Mm,
So when I was a kid that would sit in class, the
yeah,
teacher would call on me, but my mind was elsewhere. I wasn't paying attention because I wasn't stimulated. So
right.
I was diagnosed with ADD and put on prescription medication. But when I really started looking at what that is, it means that I have a depletion of dopamine. And my
Mm,
brain is always looking for the next squirt of dopamine. So if I understand how to harness that as my superpower, which took me a long time to do, now it allows me to do certain things that, other people it's not natural to them. So I can multitask effectively, because if I structure my days correctly, I can do multiple things at the same time, which is not really conducive to other people. So that's part of my superpower. The other
wow.
thing that's part of my superpower is hyperfocus. So if I'm getting a tremendous amount of dopamine squirted, then I will focus on something over time. Now, the key is to make that a positive experience for yourselves. An example of that, video game designers design video games in with one thing in mind, to be able to stimulate dopamine production. So if you have
Hmm.
kids that have ADD, they'll sit there 8 hours, 10 hours a day playing video games because they're getting that dopamine. Oh man, that feels
All
good.
the
Give
time.
me more,
Yeah,
more and
yeah,
more. No, for me, so I paint. One of the things that I used to do when I go to the studio and I paint, I can sit there for 6 hours, and it doesn't even feel like that because I'm hyper focused, because I'm getting
Mm, yeah.
dopamine. So it's that whole. So you're able to understand that, and once again, labels. So we label this as a disorder. I think it's an advantage, not a disorder. So for kids that are growing up, and you say, "Oh, you have a disorder," Now you have a negative stigma associated with that. Oh, now we got
Yeah.
to give you drugs and all that stuff, instead of saying, well, I'm different. It's not a disorder. It may be an advantage, depends how you look at it. So I have a difference. We're all different. Now, how can I utilize that difference as my superpower to be able to, utilize that as a strength in everything that I do during the day, and be aware that I do have some things that other people may not have. And if I get caught into that, so like my list of things to do, if I just keep it at 5 to 7 things, and I reward myself for completing things, now I'm winning. But if I have a list of 10 things, it could be a million things, and what I want to I want to escape from that. That feels like it's overwhelming too much.
Yeah.
So now I'm
Yeah.
escaping into something that's not serving me. So coming up with systems is the best way to utilize that. And it really is truly a superpower for me.
Yeah. Wonderful. Thank you for sharing, Len. We appreciate that. I just want to share quickly
I guess I'm
another
curious
video
about
with you, and you
the
can comment
effects
after.
of how you
Watch this.
feel about your skin. Like when you look in the mirror and your skin is improving and you look better, beauty. When you talked about, the beauty industry, it's huge. But what does that actually do psychologically to your brain, to health span, if you actually feel that you look better? Can you actually feel better if you think that you look better with your skin?
Well, I think that is the most important thing that we're doing in many, many, many different levels. Not only the level of appearance, I think it's probably the lowest hanging fruit, but at the level of habit, at the level of doing something that you really feel fundamentally benefits you, and the level that it bleeds again to different aspects of your life and you taking care of yourself. And that's what we're trying to propagate as well. I mean, we're trying to have people understand that the better they take care of themselves as a whole, the better their skin's going to look, because some people, that's what they care about. So to answer your question, we all know that placebo is a major driver of drug research, of results, 30 to 40%. There is an incredible effect that our brain has on our biological function, on our chemicals of our body. And that obviously is a great driver of youthful function and aging. But on a more acute level, there's also the amount of stress and the amount of bad emotions and feelings that you have and how they age you.
Yeah. Wow. Ah. I want you to kind of build on what he's saying there so that we can get the gist of that message, Len. Help us.
Yeah, when clinical trials, when you do clinical trials for drugs, they include placebo. He had a 30 to 40%. I think the average in a clinical trial is about 25%. So the idea is, if we believe something is working, well, every single one of our neurochemicals goes there, aligns together to help with the healing. So your belief system is extremely important in your healing process on everything. And there is a huge connection, your mind body. We talk about those all the time, but there's a physiological connection. We have the longest nerve, the vagus nerve, that runs from our brain all the way to our gut. And we talk about gut feel. Well, there is really such a thing as gut feel. There are neurochemicals that are tied into this that actually play a role in creating, creating a feeling based on previous events that may have happened before. So your brain likes to conserve energy. So we have a traumatic event or something, and it gets stored in our subconscious. Unless we have a neurological condition, it stays there until we need it. And that's sort of our gut feel, our spider senses tingling, because you may not remember consciously, but subconsciously, there was an event that was similar, that a similar experience before. So the alignment of our thinking, our belief system, that we're going to heal, that we're going to get better. And I've seen this with patients who are terminal. I had a patient that came in through a clinic, and they were given 6 months to live. They went through radiation. They were breaking bones everywhere because of the radiation they received. They had brittle bone syndrome. They had a visible, humongous tumor on their neck, and they were desperate. They didn't know what to do. And by creating a protocol that also included phytocannabinoids, they changed their mindset. They had hope. What happened was they started feeling better. The cancer didn't go away, it was still there.
Yeah.
6 months
Yeah.
lived. Started going on vacations. Started getting, having a different disposition, and that belief system, in part of other medicine and all that stuff, that led them to live 6 years with a terminal cancer instead, and really, really being able to feel fulfilled in their life. So connecting your mental state, and as my previous guest was talking about skin, looking better. If you feel that you're looking better, it actually may help you feel better, and it's a whole
Mm,
cycle of looking better, feeling better, feeling better,
better.
looking better,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
now there's neurochemistry involved in that. Oh,
Yeah.
I have some dopamine for that. I have some serotonin
Mhm.
for that, and it
Yeah.
secretes, and you don't need pharmaceutical medication. You're producing those things yourselves. And one more thing I want to say about that, I think people
Mhm.
get confused about drugs in general, how they work. And I
Yeah.
use cocaine as an example of that. Not advocating cocaine, Schedule II, controlled substance in any way. But the reason why I bring this up is, people have the stigma associated with cocaine, but we use this in medicine, and
Yeah.
lidocaine
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
novocaine and all these other things. But what happens with cocaine? Well, when you consume the exogenous drug cocaine, then it does two things. It squirts 100 times or more dopamine that we
Dopamine.
naturally
Oh yeah.
produce, and
Mhm.
it blocks the reuptake of the dopamine. So
Yep.
now you're having this euphoric feeling, and all of a sudden it's gone. And
Mhm.
your brain says, huh, wait a second. I want more of that. Give me
I
more
need
of
to
that.
get it
I don't
back.
I don't need to
Yeah.
produce myself. Give
Yeah.
me more.
Yeah.
And this is
Yeah.
where we get this dependence going, and people have genetic predispositions to those dependents. So if the perfect storm comes, genetic predispositions, feeling good, your brain calling signals for more of that, now you start getting dependent and addicted to these substances, where some people may not. But this is the idea: is it's not the cocaine, it's the ligand, it's the
Yeah.
dopamine that we're
Yeah.
addicted to. And same
Yeah.
thing with a lot of these other drugs that we consume.
Yeah. Yeah. The cocaine is just the trigger.
Exactly.
Wow. Thank you so much, Len. We appreciate that. That was impactful and insightful. So we just have about 2 minutes to go, and I want you to, if you can describe how you see the future with regards to precision medicine and DNA in your mind's eyes going forward, and the progress that you probably envisage, how would you describe it to anyone who is concerned or who's curious and wants to find out about what you see in the future?
Yeah, the future, if I my crystal ball, will work like this. Every single person that before they see a healthcare professional would do a genetic test. They
Hmm.
would have a personalized protocol for them, depending on
Yeah.
what it is that they're trying to address. Then they would have an epigenetic test. So they come back and measure how well the efficacy is on a cellular level. What you want to
Yeah.
see is, methyl groups. You want to measure that. You want to measure RNA expression. All these things are doable. And with AI, it gives us the opportunity to scale that rapidly and quickly. So you truly are going to have an experience that's personalized to you. And my
Yeah.
hope is that not only will we include pharmaceutical synthetic medicine, but we'll start looking at incorporating traditional Chinese medicine and other medicines from all over the world. Because at the end of the day, the idea is for help people to heal and get better, and whatever works for them, not only pharmaceutical medication, whatever works for them, as long as it's safe.
Yep. Thank you so much. We appreciate that, Len. Thank you a lot. So I'm just going to quickly put up some information here on the screen, but I want you to tell the audience how they can make contact with you, they need your services, and of course, repeat the information with regards to the publications that you have done so they know where to go look as well.
Yeah, I mean, the easiest way is our website is EndoDNA. That's ENDODNA.com. That's my
Hmm.
corporate website. I'm on all social platforms, Len May or Len May DNA on Instagram and YouTube, etc. I'm very active on social, and I'll respond to you. You can email me, len@endodna.com. Publication wise, Making Cannabis Personal is on Amazon or wherever you get books. I have a podcast called Everything Is Personal, and you can listen to that or watch that on anywhere that you get your podcasts. I do something really interesting, unrelated, on a daily basis. I do a record of the day on my social. I'm a huge music person, so I started doing this thing when I make myself lunch. I grab a record, put it on, and I share it with people. So, and then if you want to look at our scientific publications, going on to the NCBI website, pubmed.org, and just put in my name, Len May, and you'll see the publications that are there. There's not that many yet, but we're in the middle of 10 clinical trials, so they will be published shortly.
Yeah, great. Wonderful. Thank you so much. So there you have it, folks. This is Andy together with my guest Len May live in the breakout room. This episode entitled Precision Medicine and DNA with Len May. Until next time, please remember our three watchwords: health, happiness, and prosperity. Bye for now, folks. Take care. Godspeed. God bless. Shalom. Namaste. Bye for now.